Good morning or good afternoon, depending on your time zone. My name is Alan Pugh. I am the head of agent success with TravelJoy, and this is TravelJoy 101, our basic introductory webinar. We will be recording today's webinar, so it will be available on the tutorials page within a day or so after we complete today. We'll just need to get it edited and uploaded there, so you will be able to watch this again later. If you have to leave early, you'll be able to find that by clicking on tutorials in TravelJoy. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. We are zoomed in to 125% to help you see things. I will say that the recording will be crystal clear because I'm recording that directly on my desktop instead of just recording the stream. So we're going to jump right in. This is the dashboard. You're looking at the dashboard right now, which is the first thing that you see when you log into TravelJoy. And what you're going to see is three sections on the dashboard. You're going to see trip stages, who trips are waiting on, and then the actual list of trips themselves. We're going to go through all three parts of this. And keep in mind that we are going to be moving very quickly today because there's a lot of information to cover. So if you have questions, don't hesitate to share them in chat, as I mentioned earlier. The trip stages at the top, basically trips will move through this workflow automatically. You don't have to move trips between these stages. But as you're starting out your day, if you want to go take a look at leads that have come in, you can go to inquiry right here, and you can see that Clarence Over has requested some more information and made an inquiry. So this is a lead that you can follow up with. If you want to see clients that have approved a proposal since the last time you spoke with them, you can click here and see that Amanda Lynn has approved 2 different trip proposals, and you can go ahead and start booking those trips as well. So I'm going to be showing you later today how a trip automatically moves through these stages. I'm also going to be showing you how to manually move a trip between these stages. Say, for example, if you send a proposal to a client and instead of approving it, they call you and tell you it's good. You can make that change manually within TravelJoy as well. I'll be teaching you how to do all that. But for now, I just want to show you how these trip stages work. By clicking on them, you can see the trips that are in that stage. If you ever log into TravelJoy and you only see 2 or 3 trips, but you feel like you should see more like 11 in my case, come over here and click all. That's a trick that that we've learned over time, is sometimes one of these trip stages is selected and it's not showing you all your trips. Click all there and that should do it for you. So one more note about the trip stages here. Everybody works differently, and if your workflow is a little bit different than this, that's completely okay. You can change these stages, you can delete them, add new ones, move them around, change the names, all that good stuff by clicking on the gear right here beside the word dashboard. So when you click on that gear, you'll be able to drag these into different locations. You'll be able to change the name of the stage or the description of the stage. You can click the trash can for any stage to delete it. And then you can come down here and click Add Stage if you'd like to add one. So all of these are completely customizable. You can go ahead and click Save here when you're done, and that will save any changes that you've made to your trip stages. Now the next thing down here is who the trip is waiting on. We have a waiting on me, waiting on client, and waiting on supplier. Again, these things happen completely automatically. You don't have to make any changes yourself, but you can, and we'll go over that later. What you need to know right now is that if you want to see trips that are waiting on you, you're starting out your day, you want to get some follow-ups done, you can click on that button. Just like the trip stages, it's going to show you the trips in that stage and that status. When you send the client a proposal, a message, an invoice, it will change to waiting on client. When they respond, it will change to waiting on me. So that's a very automated process. Now that we've gone through these 2 things up here, let's look at the bulk of what's on your dashboard, which is the list of trips itself. Keep in mind that these are only your active trips. If you have a trip that's been completed, let's just say, for example, Amanda Lynn's Canada trip down here has already been completed. You can click Archive and choose a reason to archive that trip, such as completed, outside of budget, not a good fit, canceled, etc. We're going to say that Amanda Lynn's been to Canada, she's come back, she's stoked, everybody's happy. We're going to click completed, and you'll notice that that trip just disappears. But you can still find it. At the top right corner of the screen, just very quickly, you'll see archived and active. When you click archived, you'll see all of the trips that you have archived because they're completed or because they were canceled, whatever it may be. And in this list, you can find Amanda Lynn's Canada trip. And what this helps with is if Amanda Lynn says, hey, what hotel did I stay at back on that trip to Canada? You can always go back to these trips and find them. In the meantime, we're going to head back to the active trip tab here. And as you're looking at these trips, you'll see that there's plenty of different ways to sort them. You can sort by the trip name, the client name, the departure date, the last time the trip was updated, which means either you sent something or the client sent something. And another thing that you can do here is change the stage and who it's waiting on. So say, for example, here that Amanda Lynn gave you a call and said, you know, I approved that proposal, but on second thought, I'm not entirely sure that's what I want. You can change this back to proposal sent status right here and change it back to waiting on client as the client decides exactly what she wants to do. You'll see that those are updated and the page refreshes on its own. So that's one way to manually change the trip stage and who the trip is waiting on. That describes everything going across here, but what if you don't want all these columns? What if you're on your phone or small tablet and you want to get rid of the client name and the last time it was updated? Well, you can do that. Again, you can click the little gear here at the top right of the trip list, and you can remove any pieces of the puzzle that you don't want displayed here. By default, they're all turned on. So that shows you everything you can do on the dashboard here. The next thing we're going to do is discuss the left side menu in TravelJoy. So now that we know the first thing that we see when we log on, let's look at how we can navigate around the rest of the website and platform here. The first thing we're going to start with is tasks. As you would imagine, this is where you find your task list. This is things that you have created that you need to get done. And when you come to the task list, the first thing that you're going to notice is that you've got a few different buttons at the top. So you've got overdue, which is only going to show you the things that are past due. So anything due before today. You can go to today, which is going to show you everything that's overdue plus the stuff that's due specifically today. And, you know, same goes for this week. Anything that's due between, you know, this coming Saturday and going back in time. And you can look at your completed tasks as well as all tasks. So it's completely up to you how you'd like to view these. You can sort by the name of the task, the name of the group or trip, or the due date. I tend to sort by the due date just to keep things simple. And what you'll notice here is there's a lot of things that are overdue today. So let's just say that I have completed a number of these things. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go ahead and check mark these boxes. The 4 that are above pick up dry cleaning. And I'm going to leave the page for just a second. Just to demonstrate what happens now that I've check marked these, I'm going to come back to the tasks page and they're gone. So that checkbox is what allows you to mark a task completed, but it won't automatically disappear until you leave the page and come back. Had a question about group booking. Group booking is not part of TravelJoy 101, unfortunately. That topic takes about 45 minutes in and of itself. However, for those of you who are interested in the group booking process, you can go to the tutorials page right down here. And the second video on the tutorials page is the recording that we did last Thursday for group booking. That's where you'll find more information about that. So it's the second video on the tutorials page, and that's where you'll find a full video about group booking. So moving back up to tasks here, this is not the best place to add new tasks. The best place to add those is on a trip itself, so we're going to skip that part for now. But I will say that, you know, the tasks pane right here that you're looking at is definitely one of the best tools that you can use to keep organized, and you can always come here and see exactly what's due in a particular day. The calendar is almost exactly the same thing as tasks. As you would imagine, it's just laid out a little bit differently because it is laid out in a calendar format. So you can look at month view, week view, or day view. You can scan into the future and the past. You can click the today button to go back to this current day at any time. And what you'll see here is, in addition to the tasks that you see, you can also see all of the trips on your calendar. So any trip that a client has scheduled will appear on this calendar as well. It's a really great way to keep track of tasks, a great way to keep track of trips, but it's also a good way to keep track of 3 other things, and that is client birth dates, client anniversaries, and client passport expiration dates. If you are new to TravelJoy, all of those things are turned on automatically, but you won't see them until you've actually added client birth dates, anniversaries, and passport expiration dates to their profiles, because we won't know them until the client submits them. That said, if you've been around for a while, that feature was introduced only about a month ago, and you can enable it by going to Settings and then Calendar. Another great thing about going to Settings and Calendar here is that you're going to see color coding for each one of those things. So if you want your trips and your tasks and your birthdays to be a certain specific color, you can select all those colors here. Like, let's change trips from this bright red magenta color here. So let's make them more of a purple. I'll click Save and head back to the calendar, and you will see here that the trips are now purple. Had a question about automatic birthday emails. We do not send any emails automatically. Those are, as of right now, any emails need to be sent by the agent in question. We are working on a potential future update, hopefully in the pretty near future here, to allow the automatic sending of emails. But right now we don't do that. We don't do anything like that, and you would have to send the emails yourself. So there will be more information shared about that within TravelJoy when it happens. We'll have a little pop-up message down here at this little blue circle when that feature is introduced, just to let you know. Always keep an eye out for that. You may see a little red dot or a red number 1 beside it, which tells you that you've received a new message about new features. So always open that up when you see it. So now that we've talked about tasks and calendar, let's go to the Clients tab. There's a little bit of information here that's very important. 2 of the biggest things that you can do here is import your client list from another source like a CSV or Excel spreadsheet. Export your client list. So if you want to export it to add to MailChimp, Constant Contact, or some email marketing service like that. So let's go ahead and take a look at both of those options. At the top right corner of the Clients page, you have the Add Client button. And when you click that, one of the options here is Client Import. So when we click that, there's an Instant tab and a Custom tab. Well, why do we have 2 different ways to import your clients? Very simple explanation for that. The Instant Import allows you to import your clients instantly into TravelJoy, as the name would suggest, but it does take a little bit of work. What you're going to do on the Instant tab here is download our client spreadsheet. So when you download it, it's going to have headers across the top, like first name, middle name, last name, phone number, email address. You're going to copy and paste your client columns from your existing spreadsheet into this one, into the appropriate columns. Save it and come back here to upload it. The advantage to doing that little bit of work is that all of your clients will be available within a minute or so, tops. It's almost completely instant. On the other hand, we have this custom option, and this is for those who have a CSV or spreadsheet already and they just want to upload it and be done with it and not have to worry about formatting. You can come to Custom, add your spreadsheet here, and within 3 to 5 business days, we will manually import all of your clients for you. So you don't have to worry about any extra work that way, but it can take a little bit longer because we are manually importing those. Now, as far as exporting clients, that is a little bit easier. So click the 3 dots here and click Export Clients. That's it. So this is really good for folks who want to send out marketing emails. So we are a CRM that handles a lot of communications in regards to trips and profile updates and forms and things like that. But we are not marketing software. So when it comes to batch emails, advertising a new trip, and things like that, that's not something that TravelJoy can help with currently. However, we do make it extremely easy to interface with a service like MailChimp or Constant Contact by allowing you to export your client list in 2 clicks. When you do that, you can upload it to those services and have all of your clients up to date so you can start sending out those marketing email messages to get folks excited about future trips. So taking a look at the client list that we have here, we're going to be focusing on Amanda Lynn today. I'm going to show you all the different parts of her profile, starting with her name, email address, and date of birth. These will only show up if they're added. So Angie Lynn here, for example, doesn't have a birth date on her profile. That's why you don't see anything here. The next thing that you'll see is that Amanda Lynn has 13 trips. She's a frequent flyer. So we're going to click on that 13 trips button, and what's going to happen is her profile is going to come up showing all 13 trips that she has taken. You can click on any one of those for more information on that particular trip. The next thing that you're going to see is the little credit card icon here. That means that Amanda Lynn has payment information on file, and you can click that to open that payment information. From there, you can click Add Credit Card, Delete Credit Card, or Show Credit Card, whatever you need. And if you've been inactive for a period of 15 minutes or more, it's going to make you put in your password before you can do that. The next thing that you're going to see moving across here is an edit button and a delete button. Just really quickly, if the client has trips and you try to delete them by clicking that delete button, you're going to get an error. That's because you cannot delete a client who has trips. That's just a safety precaution that's there to make sure that we don't accidentally leave a trip with no clients. You will have to delete the trips first, then delete the client, just to keep things safe. Now, the edit button, on the other hand, is just going to bring up the client's entire profile here. So you take a look down through, we've got relationships, loyalty programs, travel preferences, passport info, and so on. All of these fields can be edited by you, or for a pretty good list of all the basics that a client can cover, you can actually just click here to send a profile update form over. And the good thing about that form is that's going to go to their email address on file and ask them almost all the relevant questions that you'd want to ask in this case. And it'll allow the client to update the profile themselves. Kind of a convenient thing so you don't have to go through and add and edit things manually. So that's all the different things that you can do here. Just a quick note that when you're editing a client profile and you're done editing, make sure you come down here to the bottom and click Save. That ensures that all of the information is going to be saved. So, two quick things that we're going to be skipping for today, and there's a very good reason for this. Templates and reports. These are both very important parts of TravelJoy, but these are advanced parts of TravelJoy. They're not part of the basic workflow, but they do become very important to power users within TravelJoy and can definitely save you a ton of time. They are not part of TravelJoy 101, but they are, on the other hand, part of TravelJoy 201, which I'm going to link in the chat right now. And TravelJoy 201 will be taking place 2 weeks from tomorrow. We usually do those every other week, but it was going to fall on Thanksgiving next week, which is not good for anybody. So what we've done is delayed that 1 week. So you will be able to come back 2 weeks from tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Time and learn all about group booking, templates, reports, and other advanced features within TravelJoy. However, if you don't want to wait, that's completely okay. You don't have to. You'll see the tutorials page right here. And when you click on tutorials, you're going to find a couple of things right at the top of the page. Your latest webinars, TravelJoy 101, which is the thing that we're on right now, and TravelJoy 201, which tells you all about group booking in the first 45 minutes, and then tells you about templates, reports, and other advanced features in the last 45 minutes. It's a pretty long webinar, but definitely a lot of powerful information, so I recommend checking that out. All right. Settings down here, there's not a whole lot to go through down here. This is where you're going to go in to change like your agency logo or the name of your agency or add members to your team, things like that. These are kind of the more advanced settings. Feel free to go through there, and if you do have any questions, reach out to me with the chat box at the bottom right corner here. That's always available for you to reach out with questions. For now, we're going to go ahead and make our first trip. And to make a trip in TravelJoy, it's pretty simple. Click Create, then Trip. That's it. You're going to have to enter a few things here. One of the things you're going to have to do is select a client. If the client is not in the system yet, if you're creating a trip for a brand new client, you can click Create New right here. Toss in their first, last name, and email address and click Add. But in this case, we're going to be choosing Amanda Lynn, our tried and true, completely fictional client. And we're going to give the trip a name. We're going to call it Amanda Lynn's, let's go with Fort Lauderdale trip. With the Fort Lauderdale trip here, we're going to want to choose an agent photo up here at the top, or choose a photo here at the top by clicking Choose Photo and searching. We're going to search for Fort Lauderdale today. All the pictures that you see here are pulled from a website called Pixabay. Pixabay is a site that has royalty-free images that you can use without fear of copyright or any of that good stuff. So it's definitely a great site to go to find pictures that you can use in your emails that are going to get people excited about their trip. Now that I've chosen this picture of the beach here in Fort Lauderdale, that picture will appear at the top of every form, proposal, and invoice that you send the client. So let's go ahead and click Create Trip. You can see your IC's sales and commissions reporting if you are an agency owner. That is something that's available under Reports, Commissions, and Sales. If you're an agency owner, you'll automatically see all of your agents in there as well, for the question that we had in chat. So as we're taking a look at the Fort Lauderdale trip here, we'll see that there's not a whole lot of information yet. That's because we've created the trip, but we haven't sent anything to the client. So before I explain what all these buttons are for, we do need to send something to the client because, you know, it's going to make all these buttons make a lot more sense. Let's start by sending the client a client inquiry form so we can find out a little bit more about what they want from their trip. To do that, we're going to start with the blue Create button within the trip here and click Form. You'll notice I had a few options there: form, proposal, invoice. We'll get to all of those over the course of the next 20 minutes or so. Now that I've selected to create a form, I just need to choose which form. In this drop-down list, I've got some that come with TravelJoy, some that I've built from scratch, just all kinds of different forms. We're going to choose the client inquiry form. And the next thing that we're going to do is come up and click Preview. This part is completely optional, but when you click Preview, what it shows you is what the form will look like to your client. As you can see, the client's going to see your agency logo and name, the name of their trip and their name, the picture that you've chosen, all at the top of the form so they can get excited about it. The next thing they're going to see is all of these questions. These are the basic client inquiry questions. The next thing we're going to do here is go ahead and click Next Review Email. Now, by the way, just very quickly, the email that accompanies a form, the email that accompanies a proposal, the email that accompanies an invoice, they all describe what you're sending. You typically don't need to do any editing here at all. However, if you don't like the way something's worded, you can feel free to change it. The subject here is going to be needed from you, a few extra details. The message is going to say, thank you so much for reaching out to me, so on and so forth. Basically, fill out this form. If you like the way everything reads, you can just come down and click Send. And again, since Amanda Lynn is completely fictional, we do have her inbox set up right here so we can check out this new message that we've just received from the perspective of the client. In the email, there's a button that says View Trip Form. We'll click that. And you're going to see pretty much everything you saw in the preview here. Now, one thing that I do want to point out before we start to fill out this form is at the very top it says Filling Out Form for Amanda Lynn. We often get the question from new users, how do I create a form that asks for information from 4 different people in the same form? Well, while that question does make a lot of sense, one client can't have 4 different first names, and these forms sync up with the client profiles. So you can't ask for four different clients' information on the same form. That wouldn't allow it to sync, and that would take away a lot of the strength of the functionality of syncing those forms up with client profiles. What we've done is we've made the process even easier. When Amanda Lynn's filling out this form, she can fill it out and submit it, and then come back and fill it out for somebody else on the trip. And I'll show you what I mean by that in just a moment. We're just going to answer a couple of questions here just to keep things quick. I'm just going to go with the airport code, and I'm going to add a couple of dates in here. March 20th to 28th, budget 4,500 to 6,500. We're going to leave the rest of this all blank, and we're going to go ahead and submit it. Amanda Lynn only has to answer as much as she wants. But what she's going to see next is a button to add a traveler. From there, she can come back to this form, toss in the first and last name, answer the questions for the second traveler, and click Submit Form. If she chooses to do that, here's what's going to happen. When you come back to the inbox, what you would see here is Travelers 2. You would see her and the person that she added, and you would see both of their sets of answers over here. So we make that part super easy for the client so you don't have to make long, complicated forms. The next thing that we're going to do here is take a look at all the different pieces of the trip page now that we have received something back from the client. We're going to start with the Messages tab here. And think of messages like a reverse text message format. With text messages, the newest messages are always at the bottom. So anytime somebody sends something new, it's at the bottom of the list. And then right below that, you can type your response. This is exactly the same except for flipped upside down. With this, the newest messages are at the top, and right above that, you can type your response. I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to scroll down here, and you'll see that the oldest message is from me. It means I sent it. That's why my picture's over here. And I sent it on November 14th. That's today at 2:25 p.m., so about 3 minutes ago. You can see the text of what I sent. You can see the form that I attached, and you can see that she did open it at 2:26 p.m. So that's a nice little feature you have there to track what's happening. When you scroll up, you'll see that Amanda Lynn replied at 2:27 p.m. You can see that by hovering over her date there. You'll see her answers. Anytime you send a proposal form or invoice or the client replies, or if you send just a plain email message from this box here or the client replies, all of those things will happen right here in the Messages tab. The newest stuff will always be at the top, so you can always focus on what's most important. The next tab here is the Files tab, where you're going to see all the proposals, invoices, forms, anything that you sent to the client. If you have a PDF to upload or anything like that as far as a tour, you can add those here. They are private. The client cannot see them. The next tab here is Tasks. I told you that the best place to add a task is on the trip itself. That way it's automatically assigned right to that trip. So let's just add a task really quick. We're going to call it Send Welcome Home Email. So I type that in, I click Add, and it doesn't have a due date, right? So we're going to need to change a couple of settings here. Let's click on that task that we just made, and it pops up the settings. Now, to send the Welcome Home email, we could just give it a due date, but what if the client's travel date changes? So what if they delay their trip by a week and you accidentally send the Welcome Home email before they're home? Well, you can fix that by setting a relative due date instead, making it, for example, 1 day after the trip end date. What this causes is that if the trip date changes for the client, the relative due dates on the tasks will change automatically as well. It keeps you safe. Make sure you're sending things at the right time. Now, if I just click Save right now, here's what would happen. 1 day after the trip end date, I would get an email saying, hey, Amanda Lynn's back from Fort Lauderdale, send that Welcome Home email. And that's it. I would have to log in, find the trip, find the email, etc. However, we can make it even easier by coming down here to Action, which is going to prompt us to either send an email or send a form when the due date comes. We're going to choose Send Email. And then in the list of pre-written emails that I've created, I want to choose the Welcome Home email. You may not have one of these. If not, that means that you need to create it as an email template. We can talk about that later. That said, now that I've created an action and chosen which email to use for that action, here's what's going to happen now. I'm going to click Save, and then 1 day after the trip end date, I'm going to get that same email that says, hey, Amanda Lynn's back from Fort Lauderdale, send the Welcome Home email, and there's going to be a button at the bottom. In one click, it will open up TravelJoy, go to her trip, pull up the Welcome Home email, and all you have to do is click Send. So we're taking a ton of steps out for you. So I just clicked Save, and you'll see that the due date is automatically set. Calendar, just like the Tasks tab, except it's going to show it in a calendar view. We're going to buzz forward to March here, scroll down, and you'll see the trip and the task. And finally, notes. These are private notes that you can take here. Client cannot see these. And if you're on the phone with the client and need to take some notes along the way, you can just click here where it says click to enter private notes, type in anything that you want, and click the checkbox to save them when you're done. Pretty straightforward. Well, now that we know what all these different tabs across the top are, let's go ahead and send something else. We've heard back from the client. We have a pretty good idea what she wants. We're going to go ahead and create a proposal. And to do that, we're going to click the Create button just like before and click Proposal. Now, there's 3 different ways you can send a proposal in TravelJoy, and I'm going to run through each of them, but I'm going to run through them very quickly. There are helps in our articles on each one of these methods. The first way that you can do this is the file upload method. File upload means you've built your itinerary in something like a PDF or a Word document. If that's what you've done, if that's how you make your itineraries, continue doing it. Make your PDF, make your Word document, save it, drag and drop it right in this box, and click Next. Super easy. The next option is web link. If you use something like Travify, where you're building an online itinerary, and at the end of that process, it gives you a link to send your client, instead of just sending that link directly to the client, come in here and choose web link and paste the link right here. The advantage is when you send the client this, they're going to pull up the page. It's going to have all this awesome branding and the trip photo at the top, all of the Travefy or whatever other itinerary builder information right underneath, and it's going to give them the option to approve within TravelJoy, so it will still be tracked within TravelJoy. The third option is New Document. And when you click that, your first impression is probably, ugh, I don't want to type this up completely from scratch. That's what this looks like. And it is if you want to go that far. But there's another way that you can use this. I just popped over to Google Flights here, searched for a trip between Cleveland and Fort Lauderdale. Something I would love to do right now in this cold weather. And I'm just going to copy and paste this itinerary from Google Flights straight into this document here. And I'm going to click Next. By the way, you'll see Save and Review Email here, which is what we normally click, but you'll also see Save. If you just click Save, it's not going to send this proposal to the client yet. This works for proposals and invoices. You can create these proposals and invoices, save them, and then send them later if you want to work ahead a little bit. That is something that's absolutely available for you. Instead, I'm going to go ahead and click Save and Review Email. As mentioned, the subject in the message, update to explain exactly what's happening to the client. And I'm just going to click Send. Back here in Amanda Lynn's inbox, we'll view the trip proposal. And what you're going to see is exactly what we talked about earlier. All of that same branding at the top with the trip photo and logo and all that good stuff. And then exactly the itinerary that I copied and pasted in from Google Flights. Shows up pretty cleanly. If the client has a question, they can click here to ask it, but we're going to assume that Amanda Lynn is stoked to jump on this JetBlue flight. We're going to click Approve Proposal. And we're going to come back and refresh my inbox here. And what you're going to see is because she's approved this proposal, we got this nice attention-catching blue box at the top congratulating you because the proposal has been approved. Now, normally, this is where we would go ahead and create an invoice, but I want to show you one other form really quick because I think it's important to see some of the other functionality that we have with sending forms. So I'm going to create a form just like before, but this time I'm going to choose travel insurance. And I'm going to click Next, Review Email. Now, see, here's the thing. The email and the form both say, it's important that you either accept or decline travel insurance. What it doesn't say is how much travel insurance is. So if you have a Word document or a PDF, before you send this email, you can attach it by clicking Add Attachment here. And you can attach that information about pricing. Or if you don't, you can just come up here, write in the message and say, travel insurance is $250 prepaid, and click Send. So the advantage here is now you have included some additional information in the message. Travel insurance is $250 prepaid. And when they click to view the insurance form, they have the information that they need to make an informed decision. Now they have this option to accept or decline with the waiver here about declining. We're going to assume that Amanda Lynn wants to cover herself, so I accept travel insurance, and then they're going to have to click here to sign. This is my real signature, so don't copy it. We'll click Sign, click Submit Form, and now you have a signed form from Amanda Lynn. Now, keep in mind that the emails, the forms, the terms and conditions, all of these things can be completely customized by customizing templates. All of these things are built under the hood of TravelJoy using templates, which we'll be talking about in TravelJoy 201. At the end of what we talk about today, I am going to give you guys a guide, as I think templates are the logical next step after creating TravelJoy 101. And I do want to leave you guys with a few videos that we've already created showing you exactly how to do all of that. So I will be coming back to that. In the meantime, we're going to head back into TravelJoy, refresh again. We're going to see that Amanda Lynn has responded and said that she accepts travel insurance. So now we can go ahead and create a couple of invoices. And I said a couple of invoices because TravelJoy has two different types of invoices. Here's the thing though, when you click create, especially if you're brand new, you're probably only going to see one. you're probably going to see create invoice supplier, and you won't see create invoice direct. Very good reason for that. Direct invoices are for collecting payment that goes directly into your bank account. If we don't have your bank account info yet, and we haven't approved that bank account info yet, then you won't see the opportunity to collect money directly. We won't collect money on your behalf until we know where to send it. To solve that, over here under settings, click bank info. Settings and then bank info. Add in all of the information it requests, and then give us about a business day or so to review that and get it approved. And once that happens, we'll send you an email and you'll have access to direct invoices. Many of you may not be using that. Some of you may only be collecting supplier authorizations. That's completely fine. This part is not required. But for those of you who do trip planning fees, plan to go fees, we do have this built right in. It runs through our payment processor Stripe, one of the largest payment processors and most reliable payment processors in the world. You don't need to sign up for a separate merchant account or anything like that. It's built right into TravelJoy. So with no further ado, let's go ahead and build a direct invoice. We'll build a supplier invoice here in about 5 minutes. So under this direct invoice here, we're going to notice 3 sections. The item list at the top, the settings in the middle, and the payment list at the bottom. The 2 big things that you need to worry about when you're making an invoice are the items you're adding and the payments you're scheduling. So let's start at the top. We're going to add an item, and for the sake of just understanding how direct payments work, we're going to choose trip planning fee. And what pops up is a name, description, quantity, and cost. Let's say we want to change this from $350 to $250. All this is editable on the fly. You don't need to worry about being stuck with what's already pre-decided. And once you've got everything filled out the way you want it, you just click save. We're not going to add additional items to this invoice, but we will on the next one. Now, as we go down here to look at the settings, you'll notice payment method is direct. You can choose to accept payments by only credit card, only bank transfer, or both. I highly recommend both. The credit card processing fee is a little bit higher than the bank transfer fee. So 3.5% plus 30 cents on credit card, whereas bank transfers are only 1.5%. So the other side of that is that bank transfers work basically like checks. They do need to clear before they'll go into your bank account. So unlike credit cards, which will get to your bank in about 2 business days, bank transfers will take 5 to 7 business days to hit your bank account. I recommend using both options, but this is obviously completely at the discretion of the individual agent. We're going to leave both checked for now. Charge client convenience fee. Now, this is an important box because basically what's going to happen is if this box is unchecked, if this is not checked, the client's going to pay $250, and before the money goes into your bank account, we're going to take the processing fee out. So you'll get slightly less than $250 because you're paying the processing. If this box is checked, the client's going to pay $250 plus the processing fee, so they're covering that part, and you'll get the full $250. This is, again, completely up to each individual agent. However you see fit to run your business, we like to have this option available, and a lot of our agents have successfully chosen to charge the client the convenience fee in that case. The next box down is the terms and conditions. This is something we'll talk about more in TravelJoy 201, but a long story very short here is you can create custom terms and conditions if you want to. By default, the direct invoice terms and conditions will ship with the direct invoice, and a supplier invoice terms and conditions will ship with a supplier invoice. So those are chosen by default, and you can edit those under templates. The last thing that we'll talk about on this particular invoice is the payment schedule. I'm just going to click Add Payment here, and automatically we have a payment due today with a description of payment and an amount of $250, which is the full amount. Oh, that works for me. This is a trip payment, plan to go fee. This is due today for the full amount. So we're just going to go ahead and send this right now. All right, so we are going to pull up the invoice that we just received here as Amanda Lynn and take a closer look at it. And what she's going to see when she opens the invoice, information about the agency, information about herself, and she's going to see the trip planning fee that we added, along with a description and a price. Remember, this was $250. The convenience fee here is listed as $9.38. If you choose credit card or credit card and bank transfer, the higher convenience fee of $9.38 is going to show up here. However, if you choose only bank transfer, and that's the only option they have, then the bank transfer fee of 1.5% will show up here. That just to explain that. However, there's a good side to that I'll show you momentarily. From there, you'll see the terms and conditions, she'll see the payment schedule, and she'll come up here to pay the invoice. Now, this is the good news I was talking about. When the client goes to pay the invoice, they're going to see the bank transfer option along with the savings that they can obtain by using bank transfer. So in this case, Amanda Lynn could save $5.57 by choosing that route because we've allowed both options. In any case, she's going to click one of those, enter her information, and click pay. Now, I'm not going to do that because this is a live form and it would actually charge me. But what would happen once she clicks pay is she would get a thank you message. She would get a receipt in her email, and you would get a message that this has been paid in your email. So now that we've sent a direct invoice, I want to quickly go ahead and send a supplier invoice. And we are running a little behind schedule today, so I want to do this very quickly. This works almost exactly like a direct invoice, except you don't have those settings about which type of payment to accept or client convenience fees, because we don't do any processing here. All this does is sends the client an invoice and collects a credit card authorization. So it collects their payment information in a secure manner, and it collects a signature authorizing you to use that payment information with third-party suppliers. So I'm going to add a hotel. I'm not going to go through the name of the hotel, the room number, check-in, check-out, but all those options are there. We're just going to say that it's $1,500 for that hotel. And I'm going to click over to the commission tab just very quickly. On the commission tab for this hotel, you can choose your supplier, you can choose your booking date, you can choose when you're expecting your commission and how much you're planning for it to be. And then if you are tracking commission splits, you can click Show Commission Split Info to add that extra information as well. When you're ready, click Save. Now I'm also going to add air. And we'll say that that's also $1,500. You can add all of this information in as well. This will all show up on the invoice. What I wanted to show you very quickly, though, is that when you've added more than one item, you can drag these to a different order, whatever looks best for you. You can also click the little pencil icon for either item to edit it, or click the trash can for any item to delete it. In any case, we have this information up here now, and we need to create a travel schedule, or a payment schedule. My apologies. So we'll go ahead and click Add Payment. And what you're going to see is the same thing that you did before, a due date of today for the full amount. Now let's say we want to do a 10% deposit today. So we can just click on the description because it had that little blue pencil icon and change this to deposit. And when we're done, we're going to click a space outside of the box to save it. And when that blue flash happens, that means it's been saved. Same thing here for the payment. We're going to make it $300 and click outside the box. Now that there's still a payment due, we're going to come up and click Add Payment again. And it still leaves the due date as today, but it does the math for you and puts the remaining amount over here automatically. So let's change the due date to a month from today and change the description to Final Payment. Now, one thing I'm not going to do here intentionally is I'm not going to click out of the box. You'll see that that box is still open, the cursor's still flashing in there, and I'm going to go up and try to send and save this. And I'm going to get an error. The reason I'm doing this is because it does happen very often. If you forget to click outside the box and save that information, you'll get an error that says, please save all of your invoice payments before continuing. So I'm going to click OK here and then click in the white space. You'll see that blue flash. It has been saved. Save and review email and send. When you are creating a template, this is a question that just came in. When you're creating a template for a proposal, or when you're creating a proposal using that new document method, you can paste in as many pictures as you want. If you're using web link or file upload, of course, you'd add the pictures in on your third-party itinerary builder, PDF maker, whatever you're using there. But when you're using the new document method to create a proposal, you can absolutely add as many pictures as you want in there. All right, just heading over to Amanda Lynn's inbox and her invoice. Because this is an authorization, it's going to look a little bit different. So far, it's all the same. Got your air and hotel information, the payment due. At the bottom, you still have the payment schedule. What's different is this box in the middle. This gives the client 3 simple and easy steps to create their authorization and send it your way. First step, enter the amount you'd like to authorize. Because the next payment due is $300, it says $300. But as the instructions do make very clear here, you can change that if you want. So if they want to authorize the whole $3,000 or some other amount, they can go for it. For now, let's say that they don't. If they need to add a new credit card, they can click here to do so. It brings up a box where you can type all that in, but we're going to assume that she wants to go with the Visa ending in 4242 with an expiration of 422. And the final step, sign to agree to the terms and conditions. Now that she's done all that, she can click authorize payment, and that's it. Very simple, straightforward process. But now it's on you to take that payment information and go to the supplier page and make that payment. I want to show you a trick here as we're wrapping up. And before I show you this trick, I do want to say really quickly, if you have any last minute questions, now's definitely the time to do it. We have about 7 minutes left in today's webinar. So go ahead and get those questions in chat right now. I'll get back to them in a minute. And in the meantime, here's that trick that we were talking about. If you noticed, Amanda Lynn had 2 visas, both ending in 4242. Now, this doesn't happen with Visa too often, but if you're familiar with Amex numbering conventions, you may have a client with 2 different Amex cards that end with the same 4 digits. That could make things complicated when you want to go determine exactly which one you need to use to pay a supplier. So there's a trick to find out exactly which card they used for an individual authorization. Here's how to do it. Go to the invoice. And now that we've got this invoice pulled up, we're going to scroll down to the payment schedule. And you'll see authorized with a little credit card icon right beside it that says view authorization details. Now, the great thing about this is I'm going to click just this, and I'm not going to click again. The first thing it's going to do is ask me for my password. And then after I click continue, it's automatically going to open one of the cards. The reason that it did that is because that's the particular card that was used for this authorization. So the best place to find this information is by going to the invoice, scrolling down, and clicking on that card, because it's going to show you exactly which card was used to authorize. Use this information, enter it with the supplier, and when you're done, you can come over here and click Mark as paid. If you don't see the credit card icon here, that means you're probably in preview mode. You see? So if you have that happen and you can't see the credit card, come up here and click edit. It's the last part of that little trick. I know that's a lot of information. The last thing that you're going to want to do here after you make the payment with the supplier is go ahead and click Mark as paid. Change the date if you need to. Turn off the receipt if you want to. And then click Mark as paid one more time. And what's going to happen now is the invoice is going to reload. And when you scroll down, you will see that this has been marked as paid, and that the client has received her receipt showing her payment and her balance due. So that's that. With all of that said, the last quick thing that I want to go over here is how to get support, because that's a pretty important thing, as we mentioned earlier. I want to click on the tutorials page here, because this is the best place to start when you need help, is the tutorials page. There's a few things that you can find here, so let's start right at the top. We got this nifty blue box here. The first step to learn about TravelJoy is TravelJoy 101. You're here. You're good. No need to worry about that. Let's skip to the next section. To check out our written documentation along with screenshots, visit our help center. So when you open this up, what you're going to see is a whole bunch of categories with a search box at the top. So say you want to record a payment that a client made by check. They dropped by and dropped off a check, and you need to record that in TravelJoy. What you can do is open up this article that says to record a payment made outside of TravelJoy, and it will show you with step-by-step instructions and screenshots exactly how to do that. So that's your next level of seeking out answers. The next thing that you can do is just scroll down through all these amazing videos. We have a ton of videos here. And if the Help Center didn't work and the videos didn't work, no worries. Chat with us using the box at the lower right corner of your screen. When you open up that box, you can click New Conversation, start a conversation, and what's going to happen is on the weekdays, you're going to get in touch with me. On the weekends, you're going to get in touch with any one of the four of us, as we all do rotate our weekend shifts to make sure that there's always coverage available for you guys. I am usually in until about 7 o'clock Eastern time, so if you're coming in a little bit later than that, you will get an answer early the next morning. But that is the quickest and easiest way to get support. Now, some folks will run into things that are, fairly technical, like they're trying to set up their outgoing email or something like that, and they'll need to jump on the phone because it's just one of those super complex things. That's completely okay, too. We do have a limited number of slots available during the week, and there's no cost or anything for this. There's just only so much time available for these so that we can continue helping with chats and emails. If you want to schedule a phone call, though, click the button. Schedule a 15-minute one-on-one support call via phone. So you've got your Help Center, you've got your videos, you've got your chat, and you've got your opportunity to schedule a phone call as well. Between the four of those things, that we hope that that will answer all of the questions that you have and make your TravelJoy experience super easy and super intuitive. So with that said, we've got 3 minutes left, and I want to show you guys one more thing. How to join. To join TravelJoy, you'll go to Settings and then Membership. When you go to Settings and then Membership, you're going to see our 3 different rate plans. I'm about to give you a promo code. The promo code works for the monthly plan only. The reason for that is there's already a pretty hefty discount on the annual plan, and there's a very hefty discount on the 3-year plan. It's almost basically a year free by paying for 2. It's pretty close to that anyway. So the monthly plan is $30 a month. But if you use the promo code TJRocks, which I just typed into chat, TJRocks, you'll get 50% off of your first month. You can do that by coming up here where it says enter promo code at the top right, clicking enter promo code and typing it in right here, then clicking save. So when you do that, you'll see that your first month goes down to $15 for the first month, and then $30 per month thereafter. You can click choose plan, put in your payment information, and you are good to go. Again, annual and 3-year can save you money on top of that, but the promo codes don't do anything there. So that wraps us up for today. I know that we've covered a ton of information today, but if there are any questions out there still remaining, all you have to do is come down here and click that little box, click New Conversation, and send those questions over. I will happily get back to you later today. And I look forward to hearing from each and every one of you. Thank you all for your patience. Thank you very much for your questions to help make sure that we're covering all the important stuff. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week.